Hi, YouTube. Erica here from In the Company of Cards. Um, Hope you all had a wonderful Christmas if you celebrated. I wanted to talk about, I think, five, maybe six kind of unrelated things. Well, very unrelated things, but all sort of interesting. Some of them in a gossipy way, some of them not. The first one is not. So today, as it happens, is the first day of Hanukkah. So again, happy Hanukkah if you're celebrating this. Um, you know, Hanukkah is the festival of lights, Feast of Lights. And I don't know if you're aware of the backstory, if you're not Jewish, of what that's all about, but there was a band of rebel Jews called the Maccabees, and what they were trying to do, what the rebellion was all about, was the reclaiming of the temple in Jerusalem from Syrian Greeks who had held it. And so, they had this victory. They reclaimed this temple, and the law dictated, Jewish law, that they burn a candle, a light burns all night in the temple. And the Jews, the Maccabees, only had enough oil for one night, but the miracle of Hanukkah is that the light burned for 8 nights. Hence the 8 nights, the 8 days of Hanukkah. I just want to point something out, however. Um, this holiday is celebrated as a sort of freedom from oppression, right? And here we are, thousands of years later, um, and in Gaza, three babies froze to death overnight because they've been herded into these tents, and it's freaking cold. It's wintertime. Um, you know, what am I asking? What do I want to ask the cards? I just I understand that the Israeli government, certainly Netanyahu, do not speak for all Jews, but Israel, the country, um, I don't understand why they don't understand the hypocrisy here. Shouldn't all beings be free? Shouldn't everyone be liberated from oppression? Shouldn't babies grow up to be men and women as opposed to freezing to death in infancy? I just want to look, I mean, you know, remember this original fight, what they celebrate in Hanukkah is this victory of the Maccabees over um, uh, I'm sorry, Syrian Greeks. So, this is a land that does not know peace ever, ever. And I just would like to know whether there will be any change in this situation in the coming year for Gaza, or is, you know, genocide by starvation and freezing the object of the game for the country of Israel and for Netanyahu? Uh, let's just look at how things will go for Gaza in the coming year. So I'm gonna um, I'm gonna let Spirit pick all the cards. It's just such a heavy subject, and celebrations are great, but it's just important that we be that we walk our talk. And so I'm walking my talk and saying, that's great that there's a celebration, but 3 babies did die in Gaza, frozen to death, Palestinian babies. Okay, so we'll let spirit choose everything. Will, you know, what will the situation look like in the coming year in Gaza? Okay, so we have the cross, we have the anchor, we have the bouquet, we have the rider, and we have clouds. So, as I suspected, interesting the center card, but anyway, remember what I always say when a reading starts with the cross, tradition, Lenormand tradition is that you say to yourself, okay, yeah, that question's a non-starter. Well, I mean, of course it is. If there's been fighting there for thousands of years, 2025's not going to be, you know, not going to turn the trick and solve the problem. And of course, I can mirror this cross with clouds. You know, it's a mess over there. Um, we have this anchor, which is this intransigence, right? Uh, of Israel, I'm going to say. And the message is we are intransigent. And if your question, Erica, is, are we going to pursue genocide through starvation and cold? Yeah, we are. Because we are the chosen people. This is our chosen land. This is God's gift to us. The bouquet is the card for gift. And so, yeah, by any means necessary. I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible. And not to cast a pall on the holiday celebrations of today, Hanukkah, first day is today, but to just remind ourselves that babies froze to death and there's no justification. And the Palestinians are no less human than the Jews. So, okay. Speaking of these kinds of things, let's look at someone else who's not doing very well in the world, and that is Prince Andrew. So, first he got caught up in the whole Epstein scandal because they were friends. And now he has another friend who is caught up in scandal. And this person that he's friends with turns out to be now accused of being a Chinese spy. So my question is, Andrew, what are you doing? Like, how come you're not good at picking nice friends? So let's look and see what's going on with him. Why does he associate himself? We can have our theories, but I'm curious what the cards have to say. Why does he associate himself with ne'er-do-wells, we'll just say? Okay, so we'll use the older man for Andrew. He is purported to be the favorite child of Queen Elizabeth. Um, but he has not acquitted himself well in that position. Uh, let's see. Okay. Where did this come from? Oh, this was yeah. Okay. So we have the tower, we have the star, we have Andrew, we have the ship, and we have the stork. I'm thinking that the cards didn't answer the question that I asked them. So I'm going to pull some clarifiers, again, with an eye towards my question. And so I'm just pulling clarifiers. I mean, this is kind of gossipy and it's neither here nor there, but you know, we'll consider it a palate cleanser um, after the last question that I looked at. All right. So I drew clarifiers on the tower. You can think of the tower, I mean, think of this as a castle, right? So think of this as, being a part of the royal family. And we have the bear, we have the older woman, and we have the book. You know, this is the royal family. I think that, as a younger royal, a younger sibling, uh, behind his sister Anne and certainly behind King Charles, I think he has felt bullied and bossed around and, kind of like they've got the heir and the spare thing going on, and he's a spare. And so I think he has felt overshadowed all his life, certainly by Charles. Um, but this is also the card for the mother, and this is his mother. I think that his mother um, just really thought he could do no wrong, even though she found out that wasn't true. But here it is. This is the royal family, and so here's Andrew saying, "Okay, so I'm called Prince, but what am I supposed to do?" Like back in the day, and I remember when he was young, he was a dashing Air Force pilot. But that has a shelf life, and I think that his life as a royal has been essentially without meaning, which just speaks to the sort of the anachronism that a royal family anywhere is. But I think he has felt lost and purposeless. Second card is the star, and we have the rider, the sun, and the clover. So, here he was purposeless. So as he moved into his future, um, the message that he took from being this extra royal with no purpose is, you know, have fun, whoop it up. Don't think about consequences. That's Clover. Just have fun. And that's what he's done. Okay, we've got Andrew here in the center, and the cards are the coffin, the bouquet, and the anchor. I think that he is currently depressed. That's the coffin. Um, you know, I think he thinks he should be a gift. He himself should be a gift, should be more, I don't know, kowtowed to and respected and admired because he's a royal. Um, but, he's just stuck. And again, it's that thing where you're not the king, you're never going to be the king, and you're not even the, second in line. You're way down the list, and I just think he feels stuck and mired and depressed as a result of it because everyone should admire him like Mummy admired him. Okay, the next card is the ship, and the cards are the fox, the fish, and the child. This seems to answer the question that I asked. And it was a little bit of a rhetorical question, right? The question was, Andrew, can't you pick nicer friends? Why don't you pick nicer friends? But, our ship is moving forward, right? So if there's really no place for him per se in the line of succession, in the um, eyes of an adoring British public, he's got to move on from there. And so he did. He has looked to foreigners with money. This is the card for foreigners. This is the card for money. And ultimately, I know he's a grown man with grown children and every advantage and every, opportunity for education, etc. A military hero. He's naive. He has been naive. This is the card for naivete. And so, you know, if people seem as though they're admiring him because he's a royal, that's all they have to do to get in his good graces. And if they're rich and can help him support his lifestyle, all the better. He's naive and he never stops to think, what is my responsibility to the royal family? I mean, at the very least, it should be to stay out of trouble and stop, consorting with, you know, pedophiles and spies. But he's naive. Now, interesting that the original line of five ends with the stork, because the stork is about positive change. Now, the stork follows the fourth card, which is the ship. There has been speculation that he will move, which is what Charles wants him to do, to move out of that royal lodge into some smaller quarters. He looks like he will. Um, he hasn't wanted to, but the stork says that the move will be a good thing for him. And it's followed by the tree, the crossroads, and the whip. Um, so I'll say more about the whip in a second, but so this is positive change. I think he will come up with a solution that can be a long-term solution. It's like an alternative living situation. There's speculation that he may go to Abu Dhabi, Dubai, somewhere over there, and split his time, right, between the Middle East and the UK. And that having been sort of banished in that way, both from the Royal Lodge and from full-time life in the UK, he will have been, the family will think, appropriately punished. But for him, if he has people financially supporting him, granting him a lavish lifestyle, treating him like the gift that he believes that he is, then this life of living on in two different countries on two different continents will be an upgrade for him. So why does he consort with the wrong people? Because he's been naive. Why is he naive? Because he's been coddled in a lot of ways by Mummy, among other people. And he believes that he has not gotten his due. He's not been admired as he should be, at least in the UK. So he has looked to foreigners with money to stroke his ego. And sadly, that's an opportunistic bunch. And look at Epstein and then this Chinese guy accused of being a spy. So he will probably go uh, uh, to a third sort of foreign entity, which will be the Middle East, and they will support him, give him the lavish style that he thinks he's due, and he will be out of Charles's hair. So I guess it'll be win-win-win for everyone. Okay. Uh, since we're talking about, people up to no good, I'd like to look at the Menendez brothers. These are the California brothers who murdered, I mean, in very cold blood, both of their parents. And their defense was that they were sexually abused by their father with the awareness of their mother. Now, I mean, not for nothing, at the time of the murders, these young men were not children. They weren't teenagers. I think maybe one was 19, maybe, but they were grown. They were grown men who had education, who had gifts and talents, two arms and two legs. They were well spoken, who could have gone into the world and made their way. But instead, uh, they could have left Kitty and whatever their father's name was, Menendez, Jose, in the dust and started their lives. But instead, they murdered them in cold blood. They've been in jail for some considerable time. It's been maybe, I don't know, 30 years. Um, and there's been a sort of a recent reinterest in their case. And, with the Netflix movie and all of that. And so their case is actually being looked at again because the rationale that's being given is that we are now looking at pedophilia and all of that in a much harsher light, which seems to be to say, you know, I don't know, they had it coming, the parents. So I just would like to know what the fate of these brothers will be once the case has been re-looked at. Will their sentences be commuted um, well, they're already serving life without parole. Will their sentences be commuted to life with parole? Will one or the other of them be freed for time served, which again, 30 years is a long time. But just saying that Jose and Kitty will be in the ground forever. So let's look. You know what? I'm gonna use the young man card and it'll stand for both brothers. Okay, right up. Okay, really interesting. Um, well, just let me just say the cards first. Fish, the young man ended up being the second card. Look what we have in the center again. Stork, crossroads, and snake. I'm gonna pull a clarifier or two on the snake. Okay. This is the card. I told you before it was the card for money. It is the card for money, but not here. Um, I mean, money is actually why it is actually it's money, but it's its other meaning as well. They killed their parents for money. How do we know? Because as soon as they were dead, the two brothers went on a shopping spree. Now, they will claim that the shopping spree was like a stress reaction, like they were in shock. So they bought, Rolexes and Ferraris and whatever. So this is the card for money. This is the card also for emotion. And these men and they were always men, by the way, from the time the crime was committed till now, they have been men that whole time. They were men when the crime was committed. These men have garnered quite a bit of public sympathy. And this is the card for emotion. So this would be the card for public sympathy. Okay, the second card stands for the two of them. It looks like there will be a positive um, change in their status because the stork is positive change. So for them, it looks like they will get some good news. But we have crossroads here. Crossroads tells me that they're the way that the cases will be adjudicated are different. Like, in other words, they both won't receive the same resentence. I think they'll both be resentenced, but I think that they won't get the same thing. Crossroads, implies, one gets one thing and one gets the other. Uh, Now we have this snake here, and this is the complicating factor, right? It's not as though, um, Jose was in the midst of, I don't know, sodomizing one of the, well, sorry, YouTube, one of the brothers, and the other one walked in and killed them. And now that's not what happened. So it's complicated because of the way that they just spent that money like water. It makes them sort of less sympathetic. It wasn't all about whether they were abused or not. It was about they wanted the money. So that's complicating. Uh, so I drew some clarifier. Well, I can let me just do the mirroring. So yeah, so these two mirror. The fact that they spent the money like water complicates it. Here's the brothers, and here they are separated, being given separate resentences or being resentenced separately. I drew some cards on the snake, and I've got the bear, the star, and the woman. I'm going to say that the argument will be that one of them holds more culpability than the other. I think Lyle is the older, and that he held sway over the younger brother. Although I don't know, when I saw the recreations of it in these videos, it looked like I mean they both participated, and it may well have been that Eric is the one who finished Kitty off, I think. So, neither one of them is blameless. But I think that the argument that the lawyers will make will be, that one has more culpability than the other, has maybe even twisted the arm of the other one, which would be why the sentences would be different. Um, this is about the future. Uh, and this, mm, mm. If this stands for Kitty Menendez, the brothers said that they killed her because they knew that she would be just bereft without Jose, whom also they killed already. But anyway, that's why they did it. They killed her because of that. But I think there will be sympathy for her. And I don't think that the panel making these decisions are going to appreciate that argument. Oh, we killed her so that they could be together because she couldn't have lived, her life um, without her husband, Jose. Come on, come on. So I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say one of them will get time served and be let out, be released. And I think the other will also have his sentence changed from um, life without parole to life with parole. He may never get out, but at least he'll be able to go to a parole board every 2 years to make his case. So that's what I think. And I'm going to say that I don't even know. I don't know which brother will get which because I'm pretty sure that the younger one is the one who finished off the mother. And I think that the people will find that really kind of unforgivable. So I can't say which one will get which sentence, but I think one of them will be released for time served. The other one will get life with parole. Okay, and we'll see soon whether my cards are right or not. Interesting, right? Okay. Another thing I thought I'd look at is the Azerbaijani airlines crash. So this was a plane full of civilians traveling from Baku, which is the Azerbaijani capital city, to Grozny, which is the Chechen capital, and they got fired upon And so the theory is that it's Russia. The theory also is that it was an accident. Remember, Russia is kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel when it comes to conscripts for their military. And so they're making a lot of mistakes and hitting a lot of targets that maybe they don't mean to hit. So I think I'd like to ask, what happened with that plane crash. And because Lenormand does not have airplanes, we're going to use the ship, and the ship will stand for the plane that crashed. Okay, so let's see what happened in that plane crash. All right, so we're looking for the ship. Okay, so this stands for the Azerbaijani plane that went down, and more than half the people who were on that plane did pass, died in the crash. And we're just looking to see what happened. Well, we have the bouquet, we have the scales, we have the plane, we have the rider, and we have the garden. Now, again, I think uh, current speculation is that it was an accident, that Russia did it, but it was an accident. The cards don't indicate that so much. Um, I don't like seeing this bouquet here. It's like a gift. Um, I can mirror it with the garden, sort of like Russia saying, "Oh, look what we can do," showing the public, "Look what we can do. We can take down whoever we want to take down." Um, Now, we have the scales card, and I mirror that with the rider. So there is a message that was sent. Um, you know what? I'm going to say the message. I really don't think that this was purposeful. I know what I just said, but I don't think it's purposeful. Um, I think that Russia is going to have to just be more careful, you know, um, weigh what they're doing more carefully, train people better, give better directions, not be so quick to, shoot first and ask questions later, because that's what this card's all about. Um, I'm troubled by the bouquet though. You know what? I'll pull some cards on that, on the bouquet, because I really, that's just weird to have. Oh, okay. Well, you know, much as I would like to think that it wasn't on purpose, this is disturbing, right? So we have the fox, the tower, and crossroads. The fox is calculating, and the fox is an expert, and the fox doesn't make mistakes. The fox knows how to make purposeful things look like mistakes, because that would be a foxy thing to do, would it not? This stands for the Russian government, maybe trying to steer people a different way than the way that it looks. It looks like it was a sloppy accident, but was it? I don't know. Kind of like all those people that fall out of windows in Russia. I mean, are there that many open windows? And is Russian balance that bad that people just sort of accidentally tip out of windows? I think anything Russia does, you always have to look at the underside of it to figure it out for real. Entertainment purposes only, YouTube and Putin. Okay, two more questions. So, you know, uh, we are now going into a new 4-year election cycle. And so one of the things that's happening is that the Democratic Party is trying to retool. And part of retooling means electing a new head of the DNC. DNC is the Democratic National Committee. It was Jamie Harrison. He is stepping down. And what's interesting is that there hasn't been a whole lot of clamoring to get that job, which would explain why Marianne Williamson, she of A Course in Miracles and all kinds of other sort of new agey type stuff, uh, has thrown her hat into the ring. Now, it's not the first time that Marianne Williamson has thrown her hat into a ring, of course, right? She has run twice for president, obviously unsuccessfully. Um, and she's not your average politician, I'm going to say. So I'm going to say, I'm going to ask the question, uh, what are her chances of being elected DNC chair? I mean, the Erica part of me says slim to none. On the other hand, the field is pretty narrow, or is that, yeah, pretty narrow. In other words, there's not a lot of people who want to run for this position. So that would increase her odds. But I would like to know, what are her chances of being elected DNC chair? Now, the party, of course, is who elects her. Okay, so let's look. Marianne Williamson, um, her chances of being head of the DNC. Um, I'm going to use the older woman for that question. But she's a grandmother, so it's only fair. Okay, so this stands for Marianne Williamson. Okay, that's weird because I shuffled these cards. Okay, so the cards are fish, scales, Marianne Williamson. She's kind of cut of the same cloth as Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, I would say. Clover and clouds. Well, here's the thing. Uh, you need money in this country to run for anything. I don't think she can raise the money, enough money to be elected. Um, Now we have again my scales card, which is, you know, the card for balance. And I don't think that balance would be what she would bring. I think she would be like um, Santa Claus. I mean, I think she's probably closer to socialist than she is to democratic. I'm not saying I have a problem with that personally, because I kind of don't, but I think that's how she would be seen as, you know, uh, socialist. Yeah, that, wanting to balance the scales of the haves and the have-nots, to balance that out a bit more by being gifty. So, what does gifty mean? I don't know, like free healthcare for all. That sounds pretty good to me. Free college for all, that kind of thing. That would feel like a Marianne Williamson platform. Now, God knows the Democrats need to do something different, because a lot of why people voted against them was that they were perceived as being the same old, same old, same old. This would not be that. But the fact that the line ends with clouds and that I can mirror the clouds with the fish, I don't think she has the financial backing um, to wage a serious run for head of the DNC. I don't think so. Okay, then the last question, I know this is a little long, but cleaning up end of the year stuff, right? The last thing is I'd like to look at TikTok and the Supreme Court. So, as you probably are aware, there is a TikTok ban that has been passed and is meant to go into effect on January 19th. So, right in the beginning of the new year, January 19th, the day before the inauguration. And the Supreme Court has agreed to look at this, and they're looking to see, the issue is we wanted TikTok to sell the American side of it, the side that the Americans use, to somebody not Chinese, like an American. And China's like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. And so the American concern is that TikTok will have, and already has, too much access to American information, just people's private information. On the other hand, of course, TikTok is a beloved, well-used platform, particularly by young people, and would put a lot of noses out of joint and a lot of creators out of business. Personally, I'm not on there, but I'm just saying a lot of creators would be affected by this ban. And so the Supreme Court has to weigh, American privacy concerns vis-a-vis China over and against First Amendment right to freedom of speech. And, with the understanding that TikTok is a means of freedom of speech. So I'm just gonna ask, I'm gonna use the tower. Now we know that the court has issues, ethical issues of its own, entertainment purposes only, but I mean, come on, you know what I mean? So they are not the Supreme Court that we like to think that we have. They may very well have their own personal stake in what happens with TikTok. You know, uh, again, entertainment purposes only, but you don't know whether certain justices, I'll just say, of the R persuasion, um, have their hands in Chinese pockets. Entertainment purposes only. We don't know. So I'm just going to look and see what will the court decide about TikTok. And I'm going to use the tower for the court. Okay. So this is the court. I'll probably pull clarifiers, but just so you know, we have the whip, the sun, the tower, the fish, and the rider. Um, I mean, listen, they are arguing about this. This is not any kind of cut and dried up or down vote. They are really arguing, and I think that the arguments are heated. Uh, in the center, we have the tower, and we have fish. Fish is money. Fish is money. Um, the court is fully aware that creators will lose a lot of money. Um, that you could argue that the economy even would be hurt if TikTok, our economy, if TikTok were not allowed to continue. And then we have this rider at the end, which is a message. Well, I'm going to pull clarifiers on that, but I can mirror these two. I mirrored the sun and the fish, but I can also mirror this. So it sounds like it will be a split decision. But let's pull some clarifiers. Um, I'll pull clarifiers on the tower, the fish, and the rider. Okay, so here's the court in the center. Look, we have the stork, the stars, and the birds. So this is the court. I mean, the stork, positive change. Well, what would positive change be? Positive change would be that we keep TikTok, but our private information is not disseminated to China. I don't know how they're going to do that. Stars, this is like social media, the internet, that public space, right? And this is the way we communicate, right? The court is very well aware that TikTok is a means of communication. So it seems that, they're really heavily on the side of free speech, which would be an argument for keeping TikTok. Okay, then with the fish, we have scales, garden, and woman, the younger woman. Uh, again, there is that financial hit that a lot of people would take if TikTok didn't exist. Um, they're thinking, is there a way to balance this out? Um, is there a way to split the baby? Is there another social media space that can take the place of TikTok? Is there a way that we can sort of in an arm twisting way prevail upon China to do what we ask, which is to sell it to an American investor? This is the public, and this is the court feeling at the mercy of the public. Because as a rule, the public, American public, does not want TikTok banned. So this is the yin energy, right? So the court feeling powerless to do something that they know will make them even more wildly unpopular than they already are for all of their awful other decisions like Roe and affirmative action, etc. Okay, so the rider, I mean, this is a pivotal card. Okay, well, what is the message? What message will the court come down on? So we have the bear, we have the child, and we have the ring. The ring makes me feel as though this will not be a done and dusted thing, um, even once they hand down their decision. Now, I will say, again, this is the message. These two cards are very interesting to me. This is the card for mother. It's also the card for like big brother. And we do know that young people are injudicious in their use of social media. And so is the court wanting to act in loco parentis, in place of the parent, in regard to um, who can and can't use TikTok? So, for example, will they try to do like Australia, which it remains to be seen how this will work out, but Australia has put a ban on social media for young people under 16. I mean, I suspect there may be some comment, at least, about that. That they may feel like that's a splitting of the baby thing, that kids, young people, don't have the prefrontal cortex development to understand that their information is compromised in the ways that they use TikTok. Theoretically, older people are more savvy. I think that's, you know, I don't know about the logic of that, but I think that the court will say that. And so we have to put protections in because we're the mom, we're the big brother to protect young people. So they may say, okay, TikTok can stay, but young people can't use it. That's going to go over well. That's what I think that they will try to float. We'll see. We'll see. So anyway, that's it for today. But I do want to remind you that on Tuesday, the 31st, which is New Year's Eve, I will again be doing free readings. These are readings on your personal questions. It'll be live on here on YouTube. And so just show up at 4 o'clock Pacific, which is 7 o'clock Eastern, if you didn't get a better offer for your New Year's Eve, but it's only an hour, so nobody will miss the ball dropping. Uh, I'll stay for an hour. If there's tons of people, I'll stay for a little longer than that. And it's just my little gift to you. I am very grateful for all of you, all of your likes, your shares, your subscribes. I really appreciate it and look forward to the channel growing and to us navigating what's coming in for 2025 together. So take care. Bye bye.